Hey, welcome to my channel. Today I am in the boys' room to talk about my son Finn, who is 3.5 and has recently been diagnosed with a peanut allergy. So we now have to carry an EpiPen everywhere we go and make sure that anyone who cares for him has his full allergic reaction kit. It's a really daunting diagnosis, but I just wanted to share how it came about, how we know he had a peanut allergy, how to react in the moment if your child has an allergic reaction, because we had no idea, it just happened one day, and how to cope with a peanut allergy diagnosis, what to do, some tips that I've learned. I'm just a mum, I'm learning this as I go. It's been a really stressful few months, especially because we've got a little baby as well, and obviously all this kicked off as she was teeny tiny. So what happened was I was at home with all 3 kids by myself. So Finn is my middle child, and I think it was the half term, and they were looking for a snack. I gave them a raw bar that I'd actually bought for myself. I had a look, I did actually read the allergy ingredients before giving it, weirdly enough, because I've kind of always known my sister has a very severe peanut allergy and I've always kind of been worried about it. Gave them both a bar, and the signs that a child is having an allergic reaction to what they're eating, whether or not it's nuts or any other allergy, straight away he was sick, like immediately. He didn't even finish the bar, he just started to throw up. I thought he just got some stuck in his throat, and I was thinking, oh thank goodness I was just sat here next to him while he had this little snack. Then he started to complain of just feeling very sick, and we were making biscuits together in the kitchen. He was saying, oh I feel sick, I feel sick. So I was again thinking, okay, I said, oh, I'll make some lunch. I thought maybe the being sick and everything, because I still didn't realise that it had been the allergic reaction that caused him to be sick. Then he started to say, take it out, and was pointing at his throat. Not in an overly distressed way. And one difficult thing with a toddler is they don't ever seem to get massively panicky. He was still sort of playing, and you know, and he was saying, take it out, and I realised, okay, he's definitely having an allergic reaction to the bar. So I quickly grabbed some Piriton. So kids can have Piriton syrup. This is something you should always have in your medical kit, whether or not your child's got allergies. Just have it there, especially if you've got kids coming around to stay, because it's for anything from stings to hay fever. So I went and gave Finn the dose that was correct for his age, which is all on the side, and just sat there really staring at him, keeping a good eye on him. And maybe after that, maybe a few more minutes later, from nowhere, he got these humongous hives. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I noticed them around his neck, and the back of his neck I just saw was red. I whipped up his t-shirt, his whole body was raised thick red. I pulled down his trousers and it was down the front and back of his legs. I just couldn't even believe my eyes. I was in shock. I'd already given the Piriton, so I was really scared. So I rang 111, which is the non-emergency number. In hindsight, I should have just dialed 999, and I would always dial 999 right away now. That's the advice I got given. As I was on the phone to 111, I started to talk about what was happening, and the guy was like, I'm sending the ambulance right away. I was saying to him, you need to send somebody, actually, this is getting bad. Finn was talking to me, but he wasn't moving his jaw, so he was like swelling and talking to me, but like he wasn't moving his mouth anymore. He was still just asking to go and carry on making his biscuits. It was unbelievable. He just wasn't complaining at all. The ambulance arrived, rushed in and gave him a shot of adrenaline. I had the other 2 kids with me, and they said you need to still come into hospital. So a friend came and collected Freddie, and I obviously had to bring my baby because I'm breastfeeding her. I couldn't be on the phone while I was waiting for the ambulance, so I couldn't let my husband know what was happening, but I managed to get hold of him once the ambulance was there and he was on his way home. We went in an ambulance, got there. When we got to the hospital, he started to get shakes, his teeth were chattering and he was shaking. But then we checked him all over and just said, it's an absolute classic allergy. It seemed like it was the nuts, and they said it was probably the 2nd or 3rd time he'd had nuts, because the body reacts stronger every single time, which is the really frightening thing. So if he had them again, it would be an even bigger and more severe reaction. So all in all, I felt bit knocked sideways by it, I guess, but I kept very calm. I took all the positives, which was that I was at home with him, that I reacted in the best way I could. It was me like the horror thought in my mind is, what if he was at a birthday party somewhere or in a school environment? He's not at school yet, but when they weren't really watching, because he didn't complain, and I don't know, just they're only safe with you, aren't they? So straight away they gave me the EpiPen while we waited to be referred privately to have the full tests. So I now have a little kit for him immediately after that happened, which included an EpiPen, the Piriton, and an inhaler. All of this was prescribed to me by the GP. Obviously the Piriton I just bought, I probably can get that on prescription, and he has a funnel for the inhaler. He also does have viral induced wheezing, which I'll do a separate video on, because this is going to pretty much be Finn's health week. I think a lot of these things go together, the allergy, eczema, asthma trio, so he's got all of that. This is his kit, and I have one at home, and it goes everywhere with Finn. So I have it in a little bag that hangs on the buggy, a little small backpack, and that's just everywhere wherever he is. And his nursery also have the exact identical kit. I feel very, very comfortable with them. It's a nursery that I've known for years, and they were wonderful. A big email went around saying, you know, no one to bring anything with nuts. It's always been nut-free environment anyway. They're just being very careful, and we limited his snacks down to just rice cakes until we knew the full allergy results. He went in and he had blood tests done at Harley Street. They tested for absolutely everything. So even though I showed them the bar that he'd had, they tested him for all trees, all foods, and all environmental things. Not all foods, but a huge comprehensive list like this. And it's got all of the different profiles and allergy profiles. And what they let me know is that everything could be 0 up to 6. Anything 3 and above is EpiPen. So I was dreading this meeting. I thought, what's going to come up? What if it's more and more things? And you know, it's just really, really difficult because you're so protective and he's so little. I just thought I was going to lose him in a blink of an eye over something as ridiculous as a peanut. But the results came back, and I had to go again by myself with Finn and the baby. My husband was at work. And we had really, really good news, which is that most things were 0. All other nuts were 0. Peanuts was the only one, and it came up only as a 2. So I felt so relieved. I was expecting a 5 or a 6, and so were they from his reaction. However, it came up as a 2. So they feel that if it happened again, a 2 should be treatable with just Piriton 3 times a day. You don't overdose what it says on the Piriton bottle, you just give that. However, because he's had that reaction, there are discrepancies. It could just be that those raw bars are particularly potent. I'm really interested to know your experiences with this type of thing. Like, it could just be that there's a one-off instant, it doesn't happen again. But because he's had that reaction, as I said, it gets more severe, so he'll always have to have an EpiPen with him and with a carer. He'll always have to be nut-free. I can't introduce nuts now. There's nothing I can do to desensitize him now. The frightening thing is going on holiday, I'm always going to have to know what's the emergency number, where's the nearest hospital, carrying EpiPens, carrying 2 EpiPens, because you can give 2 if one's not working. You know, you just got to be much more on medical high alert all the time. And I'm quite a hypochondriac anyway. I would say I've got a bit of health anxiety anyway. So yeah, it's tough. However, good result. The other thing that came back on the allergy result was that he has a number 4, so much more severe than peanuts, allergy to dust mites. So dust mites are found in every single pillow, even brand new ones, every mattress. So I would be doing a vlog about how to create an allergy free environment. So that should help things like his nighttime coughing without fever, should help him with his viral induced wheeze, and other things that we've been kind of managing with that have all been diagnosed at the very end of my pregnancy or in the last 6 months. So it has been a real kind of lot of heartache. He's been in hospital 3 times. The blood tests were very traumatic. Don't try and nip in for those blood tests. If you do have to go for them, make sure you dedicate a weekend and go, because he was there a very, very long time, and it cost us a lot of Shopkins. But he is very happy. There have been no more instances, and it's just gonna one of those very, very, very tough things that I guess a lot of us parents are having to deal with. This is kind of like an intro video to it. I'm going to do some more detailed vlogs, and if you've got any questions, do leave them in the comments below. I'm not an expert at all. I'm on a massive learning curve, so any advice you have for me is like massively appreciated at the moment, particularly good stories, because I feel like everyone has told me a horror story about a peanut allergy since I've told them. I'm going to do another vlog about how to use the EpiPen, and another vlog, as I said, about the dust mite allergy and about his viral induced wheezing as well, because yeah, I think these all go hand in hand, don't they? I hope you found this useful. If you're going through a diagnosis, stay in touch, and as I said, any advice from me, let me know, and I will see you all very, very soon in our next update on Vim. Take care guys, bye.